don't want to be strong like man who look pretty. I want to be strong like bitch that fight bears in the forest.
Welcome to another episode of Bitch vs. Bear with your host, my bestie Amber. Weird. Okay. And me, Sydney. I was going for something new. We are co-owners of Shieldman and Training Co., and this is a show where we bitch, laugh, and chat about all things fitness and wellness related to women in the LGBTQIA plus community. It's true. Yeah, I really emphasized bitch for last week's episode on this one because I was like, wow, we did. Just in case anyone noticed that. It was intentional.
You really sped right into that intro.
I did. It's almost committed to memory. I'm pretty sure it is. If somebody asked me, but we recently added our new identifier, so I want to make sure that once I got to that, I was like, all right, I can go.
Like that you tried to throw in Bessie. I thought we decided it was weird.
I know. I'm feeling happy today. Okay.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. Trying something new. Fine. I'll do it again.
I mean, if that's what you want to do, it's kind of my thing, but all right.
I'll find my own thing.
This thing is just ice thinking around in your...
Coffee is important. Caffeination.
Well, there's only
4 beverages on our
table.
Yeah.
We're going to need a bigger table. Okay, so for the last few weeks, we have been talking about women of color in the fitness world.
In the world in general, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
It hasn't just been the fitness world. So we don't want to close out the month without talking about creating inclusive fitness spaces for women of color specifically. I know we've kind of covered this topic in relation to LGBTQIA plus folks. So women of color have their own kind of unique circumstances. So we want to talk about those. But before we can talk about how to create those inclusive fitness spaces, we need to address the barriers that can prevent women of color from entering the fitness spaces.
That makes sense. That follows our format pretty well.
It does. Last week was kind of just a data dump.
It was, yeah. Last week
it was important.
It was very important. It was a data dump, and it definitely didn't necessarily follow our normal train,
which is okay
because I didn't feel like we had a good way of being here's a solution, because there isn't really a solution. It's a really shitty situation that is multifactorial that we don't have a good way of addressing from our kind of vantage point.
Yeah.
But we can at least bring awareness to it.
People with a lot more power than we have
need to be involved. Yeah.
We're just educating.
Yeah, exactly. So this week, we are going to follow more of our normal format. We've talked before about the barriers that are present for women in general, but women of color often face unique challenges when navigating traditional fitness spaces. These challenges stem from a combination of racial and gender bias. We know that.
Yeah. We just talked about that last episode.
That really create an environment that is less inclusive and accommodating for them. Spaces aren't really set up for them or us in general.
It's true.
Some of the specific challenges that women of color may encounter in traditional spaces include the following ones that we're going to dive into.
Sorry, yeah, I guess I should have had you do the first one. I didn't plan that well. It's okay. I'm very tired. Which I guess you heard me say last week, but we're recording both episodes today, so I am still tired.
It's still happening.
Okay, so the first barrier that we wanted to recognize is underrepresentation. And I feel like we've talked about this a couple of times this month. Many fitness spaces lack diversity in terms of both staff and clientele. This underrepresentation can make women of color feel isolated and unwelcome, as they may struggle to find relatable role models or individuals with similar backgrounds. This lack of representation can make it difficult for women of color to envision themselves as active participants in fitness and health pursuits.
Yeah.
It's no good.
Also the theme. So this one I think is really interesting and also important. So cultural insensitivity.
Mhm.
So traditional fitness spaces might not always be attuned to the cultural backgrounds of women of color. This can manifest in a lack of understanding or sensitivity towards cultural preferences, such as clothing choices, music, or exercise practice that align with their heritage. Something that I'm thinking of is like head coverings.
Yeah.
Like it it's sometimes the movements are hard and you have
Yeah.
extra head covering and you want me to be inverted, like you want me to do a handstand, like
Right? Like, how does that?
like how does this work? Yeah, it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I found it very interesting to uh spoiler, I wrote this episode.
Spoiler.
In case you couldn't tell. It's not as organized as Sydney's episodes. Yeah, I found it super interesting to research this topic because there's a lot of like overlap between barriers that women of color face and just women in general, obviously. Um, there are some like really specific things, like this next one, which I found super interesting and had obviously never thought about as a white woman of European descent. Really, you right?
Well,
Shocker.
yeah.
It's like you and your roommate.
Having lots of fun today, folks.
Okay, so Eurocentric beauty standards, right? Like, so mainstream fitness spaces often promote Eurocentric beauty ideals, the thin, white, blonde
Blonde.
women.
Icelandic, Nordic, Germanic
Yes.
descent.
which who are very beautiful, but like that's not the only
Yeah.
type of woman or human. So this can lead to exclusion and marginalization of women of color, which makes sense. It's that lack of representation, right? The emphasis on certain body types, hair textures, and skin tones may make women of color feel pressured to conform to these beauty standards in order to be accepted. Yeah. So I
Okay.
thought that was really interesting.
Yes, that's fascinating.
Right.
This one, I think, probably we talked about this in our LGBTQ
Mhm.
creating inclusive fitness spaces for them, microaggressions and stereotyping.
Oh my gosh, yes.
So women of color might encounter microaggressions and stereotypes that undermine their confidence and sense of belonging in a fitness space. For example, assumptions about their athletic abilities based on race or questioning their cultural practice can be alienating, right? So like if you walk in and the person coaching the class is like, "Oh, wow, you must be a basketball player just because you're a tall black woman walking in," right? Like
That's yeah.
that assumption, like why?
Yeah.
Like
And like that could also lead to like safety issues, right? Like if they're assuming that you know more about what's going on or
have a fitness background or
Yeah.
a sports background when maybe
you've never played a sport,
or-
you've never
yeah.
been to a gym, like they might just assume that you can handle more weight, handle these movements without more instruction that you should actually be getting as a beginner in the gym.
Exactly.
So there's also potentially a language barrier, which again, I hadn't really thought about as an English speaking person in America, whole of the world. So for women whose first language is not English or whatever the dominant language is in that fitness space, language barriers can create challenges in understanding instructions, participating in group classes, forming that community, or seeking assistance from trainers.
Yeah.
Which again, safety.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. I had also not considered that.
Yeah.
Oh, so much learning happening. This one's a big one. Probably something that has come up very
So many times.
every week this month so far. Cost and accessibility.
Yes.
Socioeconomic disparities can disproportionately affect women of color's access to fitness facilities, classes, and personal trainers. Membership costs and limited availability of affordable fitness options can be barriers to their participation. I throw CrossFit under the bus, but CrossFit memberships for what you're getting, it's
a lot.
It's a lot. And it's one of those things where, yeah, your fitness and your health and your wellness are, it's better than having a chronic disease and things like that. But when it's a choice between, can I pay for this gym membership or can I buy eggs because of inflation? I think you should probably buy the eggs.
Yeah.
Even if the long-term benefits of a gym membership are there, it's hard in that moment.
I mean, if you're not eating, it doesn't matter.
Exactly.
How many times you go to the gym.
Yeah. So it's just one of those things like, how can we make affordable fitness options? How can we provide high quality services that do keep people healthy and keep them active and moving and being able to age independently and do all those things and pay our trainers and our coaches
Right.
as educators that they are?
Yeah.
I don't necessarily have a good answer for it,
Nope.
but it is one of those things that I think as an industry, we need to figure out.
Yeah. Because we want people to prioritize their health. We're telling people they need to prioritize their health and their fitness. But then a lot of what they have in their area is priced outside of what they can afford.
Right.
So they can't, even if they want to. So, yeah. Okay. So tokenism was another issue that I had not really thought about. Of course, I learned a lot. Okay. Writing this episode. It was great. So in some cases, women of color might feel like they're only present and quote unquote accepted in these spaces to fulfill a diversity quota, which just feels so awful to me. Rather than like being genuinely welcomed and valued for themselves and their contributions to the
Yeah.
community.
You know, as somebody in the LGBTQ community, I have also felt this more so as it pertains to, especially like around like professional like jobs and things like that,
Yeah.
of like, am I your token? Am I your diversity hire? And if I am, okay, that's fine that it got me in the door, but I want a switch to flip where you start to welcome and value me for the fact that I'm a high functioning human and I have a lot of very transferable skills to your organization, whatever they might be. And so I think it probably feels pretty similar of like,
Yeah.
I might be walking in the door as your diversity quota, but also like at some point, even if that's the case, it needs to migrate. If I always feel like I'm the token, then you're not going to keep me around.
Yeah. Like you're also a valuable human being outside of being gay.
Yeah. Yes, I am. I would. Yes.
I know. I mean, I make a lot of lesbian jokes, but I know.
So the last kind of barrier that we're going to highlight is the lack of inclusive programming. So traditional fitness spaces don't always offer workout routines or classes that cater to diverse needs and preferences of women of color.
Yeah.
This can limit their ability to find activities that resonate with them and keep them engaged.
Yeah. Because that's the key, right?
Yeah. That's how you build it into a lifestyle and not just a chore that falls off and isn't sustainable.
Right.
Like you have to
something you have to want to do.
Yeah.
Okay. So those are just some of the barriers. I'm sure there's plenty more. Those are the ones we're highlighting. So as always, we're not going to leave you hanging with just those barriers. We also want to look at some of the ways to push past those barriers. Overcoming barriers that discourage women of color from engaging in fitness requires, here it is again, that multifaceted approach that addresses both systemic and individual challenges. So here are some strategies to consider.
Yeah. Well, I think this one is a big one and probably one of the, I wouldn't say easier. I would say something that you can strive for pretty quickly.
Yes.
Representation and inclusivity. So promote diverse representation in fitness media. Like if you are a gym owner or you're a social media fitness platform like we are, make sure that you have people of different color, you have people of different sizes, like that makes it easy. So do that in your posts and your marketing, your advertisement, so you can create those relatable role models for women of color.
Yes.
You know, if you have a big signage, if you have a storefront, and you use print media, get a model, get somebody, hopefully somebody from your actual community, and highlight them and put them out into the world.
Great.
Yeah. Offer fitness classes and programs that are culturally sensitive and cater to a wide range of body types, abilities, and fitness levels. So if you're offering yoga, make sure that you have, different instructors who look like the people taking your yoga classes, who know
Mhm.
how to, move bellies out of the way and do all that kind of stuff because it's important. And yeah,
Most women have them.
yeah. Did you see floating around the internet as it does? There's a maybe you sent it or maybe I just saw it. The sculpture of Aphrodite, and it was like the a headline or something underneath that was like, if Aphrodite can have a tummy from the sculpture from 2000 years ago, you can too.
Good.
Like
Because
it's
it's
like
there.
yeah, it's there, it's been there, it's a thing, it's fine. We all have it as women.
Yeah.
Like just
My little organ pouch. It keeps everything nice and safe.
yeah, exactly. So like it's okay.
I've learned how to move it around when I do my yoga practice. Let me know if you need tips for moving your belly around. Okay, so speaking about culturally relevant programming, uh, you can develop fitness programs that incorporate elements from different cultures, different traditions, music to make workouts more engaging and relatable to a diverse population,
Mm,
which I think is just so cool.
yeah.
And like makes it interesting for everybody, right? Like,
Yeah.
well, hopefully. We
Hopefully.
all like to learn new things and experience different aspects of different cultures. You can provide classes that align with the preferences and needs of specific communities, such as dance-based workouts, like so fun,
Mhm.
martial arts, or family-oriented activities.
I think that's great. Family
Yeah.
oriented activities. Like when you can start incorporating kids or your partner
Mhm.
and doing those kinds of things, like again, it's that community aspect, the thing that resonates. Like if the hurdle that you have is that
You have children.
you have children or
Need
your
your-
partner who don't who sorry, Gracie is bubbling. She's um
She's also very tired.
yeah, so provide classes that just like align with all those elements. Bring in some dance, bring in some family.
Yeah. Yeah. Like
Yeah.
if you've got children that you have to take care of, you don't have anyone to watch them. If your local gym has family friendly classes,
Makes it easier
right? Like there you go.
to get engaged.
So
That was a good segue to community engagement. So foster a sense of community by creating safe and welcoming spaces where women of color can connect with others who share similar backgrounds and experiences.
yes.
So, me and my love of like creating community and how to go about doing that. Simple way, if you were a gym owner or food, like
Everybody loves food.
bring in food. If you have a huge, Jamaican population, ask them if they'll make Jamaican ham pies. They're delicious. And like just getting food is a great way to foster community and bring people together. And you can really easily tie it into fitness and nutrition, right? Like,
Yeah.
hey, can you share some of your healthy recipes with us? Like, what are some of the things that you love to cook? Can you bring them in? Like, it's a real easy way to do it.
It's great.
And everybody loves free food.
I mean, yeah.
So, with that, organize group activities, workshops, and support networks to build a sense of belonging and accountability. That's really what you're doing when you host things like that.
Absolutely. So it's also important to have accessible facilities and programs, obviously. Ensure that fitness facilities are located in accessible areas and offer flexible scheduling to accommodate diverse lifestyles and responsibilities. We all know women have those extra responsibilities of everything. Um, and also like providing affordable membership, like we just talked about in the barriers, right? Affordable options and financial assistance programs can make fitness more accessible to more people.
Yep.
Seems like a simple concept, but like,
Yeah. I mean, It's again simple in principle.
Right.
And we've talked about this a ton because it's kind of, I don't know, one of our pillars, I guess we stand on it a lot. It's just like creating that body positivity
Mhm.
in a fitness environment. So you just want to make sure that all body types are being celebrated and respected.
Yeah.
Nobody
Not
has
just those Eurocentric.
yeah, not just those Eurocentric. Nobody has the perfect body type.
Mhm.
And so highlighting with the use of your coaches, making sure you're hiring coaches who have different body types. Not
Yes.
everybody fits into a mold. To use a Barbie reference, they don't all look like Ken and they don't all look like Barbie.
Exactly. Hire
Uh,
some weird Barbies
yep,
and
hire
some Allens.
and some Allens. If you haven't seen the movie, go see the movie.
Oh my God, yes, go see the movie.
Um, and focus on fitness goals that emphasize things like health and strength and overall well-being rather than just those aesthetics.
Exactly.
And celebrate milestones and achievements to boost self-worth and encourage a positive attitude towards fitness. There's been like a shift. I think a lot of people do like the committed clubs where it's
Mhm.
not about how much weight you lift or how it's just about how
Did
many
you show up?
did you show up? How many times did you show up? Did you reach this number? That's a great number. Awesome. Congratulations.
Yeah,
Because that, as we talk about all the time, consistency is really the key.
it is.
So
Yeah.
if they're showing up, highlight it. Make it
Exactly.
really fun and cool that they're showing up.
Yeah. Love that. So kind of going back to that representation, mentorship and role models. Establishing mentorship programs that connect experienced fitness enthusiasts or professionals with women of color who are new to fitness. Also pushing through that stereotype of like, well, she's black, so she must be athletic, right?
Right. Yeah.
She might not be.
And that's okay.
And that's totally fine. We love having new people come in their fitness journey,
Yeah.
or start their fitness journey. So hook them up with people who have been there for longer and can kind of help show them the ropes and make sure that they're being welcomed and feeling good in that space.
Yeah.
Share success stories of women of color who have overcome these barriers and achieved their fitness goals and show others that like, yeah, you can do this. Like, yes, there are these barriers and the world sucks, but you can still do this.
You can
We
still do
believe in
this.
you.
We believe in you. So this one, if you are somebody who is a little bit more like civically engaged, I think it is one of the things that we are kind of faltering in as we kind of like age as a nation. um, so really advocating for policy change. So
Mhm.
going out and making sure that policies that promote equity and access to fitness resources, including public spaces, recreation programs, and school-based activities. So getting involved, whether you go sit on the school board, whether you go become a part of like the community association. There's a
Mhm.
lot of places that have it. Go sit on your town council,
Yeah.
those kinds of things, and engage with local governments and organizations to really support initiatives that you feel passionately about that prioritize things like diversity, inclusion, and fitness. Maybe you can't get your location moved, but maybe you can get more crosswalks so that people
Yeah.
can walk to your facility. Maybe you can get a green space closer to your facility and convince your town or city that like, hey, let's put a bus stop here.
Yeah.
Like if we can just get people to be closer to us, we can start marketing to them.
Exactly.
So I think it's a great way to do it. And if you are, especially like if you're politically kind of not even politically motivated, like I think if you just want to try and encourage these things and feel
Mhm.
like you have a little bit more momentum, trying to get involved in like state and local government is a good way to do it.
Yeah, exactly. That's great. So remember that these strategies should be adapted to the specific cultural and social context of different communities. Like each community is not going to need the same exact things. They're going to need different, I don't know, whatever's. Sorry, I can't words. Anyways,
Words.
I can't with the words. The goal is to create an environment where women of color and everybody, but specifically for this month, women of color, feel empowered, valued, and supported, especially supported in their fitness journeys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Addressing the challenges facing women of color requires intentional efforts from fitness spaces to create a more inclusive environment. This can involve diversifying leadership and staff, implementing cultural sensitivity training, showcasing diverse representations in marketing materials, offering a variety of workout options, and actively seeking input from women of color to
Yes.
shape the fitness experience. So asking
Going
them.
right to the source.
Yeah. Ultimately, a more inclusive and welcoming fitness space benefits not only women of color, but also the entire fitness community that you're trying to create. It makes fostering a sense of unity and belonging, and it's just pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Everything is awesome when you're part of a team.
But only if it's a diverse team.
But only if which I think the Lego movie highlighted.
Yeah.
Same.
All right. So that's a wrap for this week's episode.
Woohoo!
Remember, if there's something you would like us to discuss on the show, reach out. All of October, we will pick different listener submitted topics each week to explore and expand on. And keep following, liking, commenting, all the things. We want to hear from you.
All the things.